Come here, baby. Not in a hurry, not scrolling, not halfway listening. Come sit down. Let the room soften around you, because I'm not about to shout at you. I'm not about to hype you. I'm not about to sell you another dramatic reinvention. I want to talk to you about something quieter than that. 14 days, that's all. Not a year, not a lifetime, not new year, new me. 14 days of obedience. And before your chest tightens up, breathe. I am not asking you to become someone else. I am asking you to stop negotiating with yourself. Now let me say something gently. You don't lack potential. You lack repetition. You have tried transformation the loud way. Grand declarations, bold resets, midnight vows whispered into the ceiling. You've stood in front of the mirror and said, "This is the last time." And you meant it. For 3 days, for 5, for maybe even 7, and then something small happened. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just ordinary. You woke up tired, you felt uninspired, you felt unimpressed, and because it didn't feel dramatic anymore, you assumed it wasn't working. Baby, transformation does not feel exciting, it feels repetitive, and repetition is boring to the undisciplined mind. That's why most people stay exactly where they are, not because they are incapable, because they are addicted to intensity. Intensity feels powerful, but rhythm builds power, and you have been chasing flame when what you need is tide. Now here's where I lean in a little closer. Be honest. How many times have you restarted? How many Mondays? How many "this time I'm serious" speeches? How many notebooks half filled with new plans? You don't have a motivation problem. You have a consistency problem, and I say that with love, because consistency is trainable. Motivation is unpredictable. So for 14 days, there will be only 3 commands. 3, not 20, not a complicated morning routine, not a personality overhaul. 3 simple acts. So simple, you might be tempted to dismiss them. Do not. Simplicity is their power. The first command: you will write one clear statement of who you intend to become, not who you hope to be, not who you might be, who you intend to be. Short, definite, unapologetic. I am becoming disciplined. I am becoming a person who keeps their word. I am building a life of controlled excellence. I am steady. I am reliable. I am aligned. Just one. And you will read it out loud every morning before the world touches you, and again every night before sleep carries you. Out loud, with feeling. Now listen to me carefully. The first morning will feel awkward. The third morning will feel mechanical. By the fourth morning, you will feel ordinary. And that is the moment most people quit, because they mistake boredom for failure. But identity is not installed through excitement. It is installed through repetition. Repetition is instruction. Instruction shapes belief. Belief governs conduct. Conduct repeated becomes identity. Identity shapes destiny. And your subconscious mind? It doesn't respond to occasional passion. It responds to consistent command. For years you have spoken weakness over yourself. I'm just not consistent. I always fall off. I'll try again next week. And your mind believed you. So for 14 days, you interrupt that pattern. You become the authority in your own voice, and somewhere around day 5, your tone changes. You stop sounding unsure. You stop whispering. You start sounding like someone who expects obedience from themselves. Your shoulders shift slightly. Your posture steadies. Before you scroll, you hesitate. Before you speak carelessly, you pause. Not because you're afraid, because you're aligned. Alignment is subtle. It doesn't scream. It steadies. Now here's where I tighten the truth a little. You say you want change, but what you really want is dramatic proof. You want fireworks. You want visible shift. You want the world to notice immediately. But the world does not reward beginnings. It rewards consistency. And consistency is unimpressive at first. That's why most people abandon it. Around day 7, doubt will whisper, "This is too simple." That whisper is your old identity protecting its territory. It knows if you complete 14 days without negotiation, it loses control. Because you will begin trusting yourself again. And self-trust? Oh, that's dangerous. Because when you trust your own word, you stop announcing change. You just move, steady, controlled, intentional. Now breathe with me. Because this is not dramatic. It is disciplined, and discipline does not beg. It waits. 14 days, 3 commands, no negotiation, not to impress anyone, not to prove anything publicly, but to see who you become when you stop arguing with yourself. And we haven't even reached the second command yet, but already you feel the tension. Good. That tension means you're listening. And in the next portion, we're going to open the first command wider, because clarity without understanding turns into another abandoned attempt, and we are not restarting, we are installing. Let's go deeper now, because writing a sentence sounds small, and small things are easy to underestimate, but vagueness is the quiet killer of destiny. Most people are not lost. They are undefined. They wake up without decree. They move through the day reacting. They respond to texts. They respond to emails. They respond to moods. They respond to fatigue. But they do not command themselves. And when a person does not command themselves, circumstance does. That's why you drift. Not because you are incapable, because you are undefined. When you write one clear statement of who you intend to become, you eliminate drift. You force the mind to choose. Choice awakens energy. Energy follows direction. Let me tell you something softly. A vague goal is an escape hatch. I want to do better. That means nothing. I want to be more disciplined. That is a thought, not a decree. But when you say, I am becoming a person who keeps their word, now there is tension. Now your behavior has something to measure itself against, and tension is necessary for growth, because without tension, you slide. Now here's the part most people miss. It is not the writing that changes you. It is the repetition. Every morning you read that sentence before the world touches you, before the news, before the notifications, before someone else's agenda. Your first voice becomes command. That matters, because most people's first voice each day is complaint. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. Here we go again. And that tone sets the architecture of the day. But when your first voice says, I am becoming disciplined, the subconscious hears authority. The subconscious does not argue. It accepts repeated instruction. It believes what it hears consistently. And for years, you have told yourself subtle lies. I can't stay consistent. I'm just not wired that way. I'll always struggle with this. Baby, you trained yourself to believe that through repetition. So now we retrain, not dramatically, quietly. By day 3, nothing feels different. By day 4, resistance appears, and it will not look dramatic. It will look like this. You can skip today. You already know the sentence. It doesn't matter. That whisper is the old identity protecting itself, because identity resists replacement. You are not just reading a sentence. You are interrupting momentum. And momentum, even negative momentum, defends itself. Around day 5, you begin noticing something subtle. Your decisions slow down. Before you say yes automatically, you pause. Before you waste time mindlessly, you hesitate. And the question begins appearing naturally. Does this align with who I said I am becoming? That question is power, because alignment eliminates chaos. Now let me confront you gently. You don't struggle because you lack ability. You struggle because you lack definition. If someone asked you right now, who are you becoming? Could you answer clearly? Or would you say something soft and undefined? That uncertainty is expensive. It costs you years. Because you chase opportunity without identity. You try habits without clarity. You attempt discipline without direction. And discipline without direction becomes exhaustion. But repetition with direction builds destiny. Now listen closely. There will be a moment, around day 7, when boredom shows up. Not fatigue, boredom. And boredom is more dangerous than failure, because boredom convinces you that nothing is happening. And when nothing appears to be happening, you want to abandon it. But what's actually happening is installation. Identity installs quietly. You will not feel fireworks. you will feel steadiness. Your tone becomes firmer when you speak your sentence. Your posture straightens slightly. You stop sounding unsure. And you stop apologizing for your intentions. That's subtle power, and subtle power lasts. Let me give you a small story. There was a man who declared each morning, "I am a disciplined builder of my own future." He felt foolish the first week, but he did not miss a day. Around day 8, he noticed he was arriving at work earlier, not forced, naturally. Around day 10, he noticed he was finishing tasks more completely, not dramatically, just thoroughly. Nothing in his external life had changed yet, but internally, he trusted his own word a little more, and that trust altered his posture, his speech, his pace, and other people felt it before he did. Alignment radiates. Now here's the dangerous truth. If you complete 14 days without missing a single reading, you will begin trusting yourself again, and self-trust changes everything. Because when you trust yourself, you stop negotiating constantly. You stop asking, "Will I follow through?" You assume obedience, and assumption shapes action. This is why 14 days matter, not because they are magical, but because they interrupt drift. You have been drifting for years, softly, subtly, restarting, resetting, redeclaring, but never installing. 14 days without negotiation break that cycle. And let me lean in one more time. You say you want change, but what you truly fear is committing long enough to see whether you can handle it. Because if you commit fully and succeed, you lose your excuse. You can't blame inconsistency anymore. And that responsibility feels heavy. But baby, responsibility is power, and power is calm. It does not shout, it steadies. So tomorrow morning, you speak your decree out loud, and tomorrow night, you speak it again, and you do not revise it mid-cycle. You do not improve it, because revision is often disguised doubt. 14 days, unchanged, unbroken, unnegotiated, and when the 14th night comes, and you realize you did not miss a single reading, something will settle inside you. Not excitement, certainty, and certainty is the beginning of quiet dominance. Now we move to the second command, because clarity alone builds confidence, but clarity combined with usefulness builds advancement. Now listen closely. The second command is not glamorous. It will not impress anyone at first. It will not trend. It will not be reposted. It will feel small. Every day for 14 days, you will give one extra measure of service. 1. Beyond what is required, beyond what is paid for, beyond what is expected. No announcement, no performance, no quiet brag disguised as humility, just excellence. Now here is the truth most people refuse to admit. They give exactly what they are compensated to give. They measure effort against reward. They calculate energy like accountants, and then they wonder why they remain average. Average effort produces average visibility. Average visibility produces average opportunity, and average opportunity produces average life. You say you want more, but do you consistently give more? That's the confrontation. Now let me soften it again. This is not about overworking yourself into exhaustion. This is about elevating your internal standard. On day 1, it may look like refining something more carefully. On day 2, it may look like offering help before being asked. On day 3, it may look like staying present when your mind wants to check out. Small, intentional, quiet. Now here's what will happen. Around day 3, your mind will start calculating. Why am I doing extra? Who's noticing? Does this even matter? That voice is the old measurement system. It believes effort must equal immediate recognition. But opportunity does not respond to effort, it responds to pattern. When you exceed expectation consistently, you become difficult to ignore. But more importantly, you become difficult to ignore to yourself. Because you start seeing evidence. Evidence that you are not lazy. Evidence that you are not inconsistent. Evidence that you can raise your own bar. And evidence builds self-respect. Now we reach day 5. Something subtle shifts. You feel pride, not loud pride, integrity. You walk differently. You speak with a little more steadiness. because you know you did not cut corners. That internal knowledge matters more than applause. Around day 7, fatigue arrives, and this fatigue is different. It does not scream, it whispers, "You've done enough. You're already doing better. You don't have to keep pushing." That whisper is mediocrity wrapped in comfort. And here is where most people collapse, because exceeding expectation without recognition feels lonely. You start wondering if it's pointless, if anyone sees, if anyone cares. Baby, that loneliness is the separation, because the crowd performs when watched, the disciplined act regardless. Now let me push you gently. Are you willing to elevate your standard even if no one claps? Are you willing to be excellent even if no one notices immediately? Because this is where character forms. Character forms in the unseen. And the unseen eventually becomes visible, but only if you persist past boredom. Now let me tell you something important. Excellence, repeated quietly, changes posture. Posture changes perception. Perception changes opportunity. You do not need to demand advancement. You need to become aligned with it. Around day 9, you will notice something unexpected. Exceeding expectation no longer feels like extra effort. It feels normal, and that's the shift. When excellence becomes your baseline, you separate. You are no longer average. You are not trying harder. You are operating differently, and that internal shift radiates. People feel it. They may not articulate it, but they feel it, because consistency creates presence, and presence commands attention. Now here comes day 10, and day 10 is dangerous, because this is where momentum feels fragile. You've been disciplined, you've been steady, you've given extra, and a quiet thought appears. You can relax now. Relaxation after installation is wise. Relaxation before installation is sabotage. Day 10 tempts you to ease up before identity fully shifts. This is the test. Most people fail not because the plan is difficult, but because it is unimpressive. They crave dramatic struggle. They overlook disciplined repetition. But repetition is what installs identity, not intensity. Repetition. Now breathe with me, because I want you to see something clearly. When you give one extra measure of service each day, you stop thinking like someone waiting. You start thinking like someone building. You cease being dependent on recognition. You become anchored in contribution. And contribution builds leverage. Leverage builds advancement. Advancement builds influence. But all of that begins with a single extra act repeated without negotiation. Now here's a quiet story. There was a woman who decided for 14 days she would refine every piece of work she touched, just 10% more than required. No one asked her to. No one told her to. She simply decided. By day 6, she felt steadier. By day 9, her pace changed. By day 14, her confidence was no longer fragile. And within months, opportunity found her. Not because she chased it, because she had become aligned with it. Alignment attracts. Now let me confront you one more time. You want increase, but do you consistently give increase? You want recognition, but do you operate at a level worth noticing? This is not criticism. This is invitation. 14 days, one extra measure, every day, no negotiation, and when day 14 arrives, you will not feel extraordinary. You will feel elevated. And elevation is quiet. It does not scream. It steadies. Now we move to the final command, because clarity installs direction, service installs advancement, but self-governance installs permanence. And permanence is where power lives. Now we arrive at the third command, and this one looks the smallest, but it is the sharpest. Each day for 14 days, you will refuse one weakness. One complaint you choose not to speak, one distraction you deny, one excuse you silence before it leaves your lips. Just one. You do not need to conquer your entire life in 2 weeks. You only need to interrupt erosion, because erosion is not dramatic. It is subtle. It happens when you allow small things repeatedly. 10 minutes of delay every morning becomes months. One careless complaint becomes a pattern of speech. One small excuse becomes a quiet identity. An identity, repeated, becomes destiny. Most people do not lose their future in one catastrophic moment. They lose it in fragments. They surrender in inches. So, for 14 days, you stop surrendering in inches. The first time you swallow a complaint, it will feel uncomfortable. You will feel the words rising. You will feel the urge to justify frustration. And then you will choose silence. That silence will feel heavy, but it will also feel powerful. Because for once, you governed yourself. On day 2, you deny a distraction. Your hand reaches for your phone automatically. You pause. You set it back down. That pause, that is sovereignty. Most people believe power is intensity. It is not. Power is control. Control over speech, control over impulse, control over delay. Now here's where it deepens. Around day 4 of refusing weakness, you will begin noticing yourself before you act. You will hear the complaint forming before it escapes. You will feel the excuse building before it speaks. Awareness sharpens, and sharpened awareness builds authority, because you cannot govern what you do not notice. Now let me lean in closer. You say you want influence. You say you want advancement. You say you want to be respected. But how often do you surrender to impulse? How often do you speak carelessly? How often do you delay what you know should be done? This is not condemnation. This is clarity. Self-governance precedes leadership. If you cannot command your own speech, you cannot command much else. Now we reach day 7, and day 7 feels ordinary. Again, the novelty is gone. The intensity has faded. You feel steady but unimpressed, and unimpressed feels dangerous, because the old identity whispers, "This isn't dramatic enough to matter." That whisper has kept you restarting for years, because you crave visible shift. But visible shift is the result of invisible repetition. Stay. On day 9 or 10, a sharper test may arrive, a stronger irritation, a more tempting distraction, a heavier excuse. And this is where most people collapse, because they think small surrender does not matter. But small surrender repeated becomes habit, and habit repeated becomes character, and character repeated becomes identity. So you refuse it, not dramatically, calmly. And something remarkable begins to settle inside you. You begin trusting yourself again, not because you achieved something grand, because you obeyed something small. Self-trust does not arise from applause. It arises from evidence. Evidence that when you said no, you meant it. Evidence that when you said you would, you did. And by day 12, you feel different, not electrified, not euphoric, aligned. Your speech is slower. Your reactions are calmer. You do not rush to defend yourself. You do not rush to complain. You do not rush to delay. You feel solid. Because I want you to feel the weight of this next sentence. You have not failed because you are weak. You have failed because you are inconsistent. And inconsistency dissolves through repetition, not hype, not intensity, repetition. The next 14 days will pass whether you obey yourself or not. They will move forward regardless. You can live them casually, like the last 14, or you can live them under command. No one has to know. No announcement, no post, no performance, just rhythm. You've tried flame, try tide. You've tried intensity, try repetition. And before I move forward, I need you to answer something silently. Are you tired of restarting, or are you still entertained by the drama of beginning? And solidity is rare. Now here is the dangerous truth. If 14 days of refusing one weakness daily can change you this much, what could 90 do? What could a year do? What could a lifetime of repetition guided by definite aim accomplish? You thought you needed motivation. You needed installation. You thought you needed intensity. You needed rhythm. You thought you needed someone to push you. You needed to stop negotiating with yourself. 14 days, 3 commands, no negotiation. And now let's be honest, the next 14 days will pass regardless. They will move forward whether you choose obedience or drift. You can live them casually, or you can live them under command. No one needs to know. No post, no announcement, no performance, just rhythm, just repetition, just quiet sovereignty. And when day 14 arrives, there will be no fireworks, No parade, no dramatic unveiling. There will be a mirror, and in that mirror, you will see something subtle. Your eyes will look steadier. Your posture will feel anchored. Your voice will sound firmer, not louder, clearer. You will look aligned, and alignment is stronger than excitement. Excitement fades, alignment endures. Now sit with me one last moment, because I want this to land softly. You have not failed because you are incapable. You have failed because you restarted before installation. You abandoned before identity formed. You mistook boredom for failure. You mistook quiet for absence. But transformation was happening beneath the surface. It just required repetition long enough to root. So tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, before you check the world, speak your decree. Let your first voice be command. Tomorrow night, speak it again. Let your final thought be direction. And in between, give one extra measure. Refuse one weakness, no negotiation. And when doubt whispers, when boredom arrives, when fatigue suggests postponement, you remain, because you are no longer chasing flame, you are building tide. 14 days, 3 commands, no drama, just disciplined obedience. And the question was never whether it would work. The question is whether you will stay long enough to watch who you become. And I wonder, who might be waiting on the other side of those 14 days? Not a new person, just a consistent one. And that changes everything.